سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna hadaynahu as-sabil. Inna hadaynahu as-sabil imma shakiran wa imma kafura. What are the motives for the criminals to commit crimes? This is a question that puzzled many scholars over centuries. That why some people in the society turned to commit crimes, while many others are conforming. They don't. What does make those people who are prone to commit crimes to do so? What is in them that, unlike the larger segment of the community, they enjoy committing crimes? What are their motivations? Scholars were divided into three groups, three schools of thought. And please listen carefully to that, because then I need to make a conclusion and I need your help and your attention in that as well. So the first group of scholars believe that the problem is genetic and psychological, meaning that those people who are prone to commit crimes, they are inherently criminals. They are inherently criminals. Lombroso, an Italian scholar and a criminologist, believes that after doing research for so many years, he believes that criminals, after studying them, he found out that criminals stand out through their genes. How? He says a normal person like you and I, has two chromosomes, X and Y. But for criminals, they have three chromosomes, X, Y, Y. They stand out through their chromosomes. And therefore, because of this added chromosomes in their genes, they commit crimes. And he believes also that criminals they do stand out through their facial features. He says if you examine the way they look, criminals, they are different than normal people. They have a bigger jaw. They have a different facial features. And therefore, they are prone to commit crimes. Does Islam agree on this? No. Islam believes all people are born innocent. No person is born a criminal. Even though Lombroso doesn't say that criminals are born criminals, he says criminals are born prone to commit crimes. But Islam says there is no such thing. There is nothing that have been documented or confirmed that a person is born while have an increased inclination toward criminality. There is no such thing. Human beings are born with both inclinations toward conformity and criminality. There is nothing that says a specific person was born with more inclinations toward criminality. There is no such thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not created that person yet. That's the first theory. The second theory, that is called the labeling. This theory believes that the concept of a crime is relative, meaning something could be viewed and labeled as a crime at one society, while it is not viewed as crime in another society. For example, homosexuality. Homosexuality is considered in many countries around the world, in many societies around the globe, as a crime. But here in the West, it is not considered so. And vice versa. Something that is considered not a crime at other countries, it could be viewed and labeled as a crime at a certain country. Like what? Like when a man marries more than one wife. It is a crime in this country, right? So polygamy is a crime. But it is not a crime in some Middle Eastern countries, in Muslim countries. So according to this theory, there is nothing definite about calling something a crime. It depends on how the society views those concepts. Here in Michigan, the governor of Michigan signed a law a few months ago incriminating those parents who allow their children under 18 to get married. So for a teenage, 15, 16, 17, to get married, it has become a crime in the state of Michigan. Now, mind you, that if the same teenage goes and have sexual relationships with other young men, that's perfectly fine. If she wants to have zina and fornication, that's completely fine with our governor. She has no problem with that. But if she gets married under the law of Islam and she has a husband where he is abided by those rules and regulations, that is a crime. So I can go on and give many other examples on how societies differ on viewing crimes. One society considers a certain act as a crime when the other society does not view it as a crime. So according to this theory, which is called labeling, the concept of crime is a fluid. It depends on what society you're talking about. It depends on where you are sitting. Now, obviously, we do not accept this theory as well, because yes, it is true that societies differ on labeling certain acts as a crime or as not crimes, but definitely they all agree on certain acts as crimes, like murder, like, for example, stealing, theft, robbery, rape. There are certain acts that all societies agree that those acts are definitely crimes once they are committed, whether they are committed in the Middle East or in the West. Whatever society you speak about, it doesn't really matter. It is viewed as a crime. Yes, I agree that sometimes mass murder is considered self-defense, as we see it happening right now. 10,000 people are killed in Gaza to the pro-Israeli lobby and pro-Israeli groups, including our own president, including our own Congress, this is not murder. This is perfectly fine with our Congress. Why? Because Israel is defending itself. Is defending itself. Even though the entire world recognizes this as a murder, mass murder, not only that, the vast majority of countries around the world would consider what Israel is doing in Gaza as a genocide. But our own Congress, our own president, many of our politicians do not view it that way. They consider that completely legitimate. It is okay for Israel to go ahead and kill more Palestinians because Israel is exercising self-defense. Now let's move to the third theory. What does third explanation or theory would say about crimes? Why crimes are committed? In this theory, scholars like Durkheim, a pioneer sociologist, he believes that there are certain things, levers in the society that he calls social control. Social control. And social control levers are divided into two: external, internal. The internal social control levers are like, for example, your moral values. Your moral values serve as a social control, prohibiting you from committing crimes. You are raised with certain values, moral values, that tell you robbing other people is not a good thing. Raping women is not a good thing. That's a crime. You are raised with those values. According to Durkheim, those values serve as social control levers. They prohibit you from committing crimes. And now also there are external levers, such as police. The police stops you from committing a crime. Durkheim believes the combination of both external and internal levers, social control levers, they prohibit people from committing crimes. He says once those levers are weakened, how? There is no police. There is no police. Police go on strike. Or my moral values are weakened and compromised. He says, in this case, a person is more prone to commit crimes. Now, what does Islam say about that? Islam says absolutely true. Yes. It is the social environment that make people commit crimes. People are born equally. As I mentioned earlier, there is no child that is born as a criminal. They are born innocent. But it is the society that teaches them and instills them and plants in them seeds for committing crimes. And that's why many scholars say it depends where you live, how you live. If you live in an upscale area, in a mansion, where your parents are well off, both are professionals, both are enjoying a career, where lands them in upper class of the society, where you have the chance to go to a private school, the chances for you to deviate is very slim. But if someone is born in slums, where he finds his father serving a life sentence in a prison, his mother is on a drug, he has many other siblings who are at foster care, and this child comes home, he doesn't find no one to care for him, this child is more prone to committing crimes. So it is the society. It is the society that can make a conforming person out of one and a criminal out of the other. It is the environment. It is the environment. It is the peers. It is the neighborhood. It is the teacher. It is your social environment that pushes you to one way or another. And in fact, Al-Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has a saying I would like to share here with you. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, لا تصاحب الفاجر فإنه يزين لك السوء ويود أن تكون مثله. He says, do not befriend someone who is lewd and lax in his moral values. Why? He says, because this person would encourage you to commit the ugly acts. وَيَوَدُّ أَن تَكُونَ مِثْلَهُ. And he wants you to act like him. For someone who robs other people, he would push his friends, his peers also to do so. For someone who is drug addict, well, imagine if I'm a drug addict and I sit with my peers and friends, am I going to promote morality? Of course, I'm going to encourage my peers to experience drugs, just like I did. Because each person acts according to his or her nature. So, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib says, stay away from those people. And he also says, وَلَا تُصَاحِبِ الْفَاسِقِ. And also, do not befriend with someone who is not committed to his or her faith. فَإِنَّهُ يَسْرُقُ مِنْكَ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَشْعُرُ. This person who has no commitment to no religion, to no morality, would steal from you as you do not even notice that. He steals your innocence. He steals your innocence. He encourages you indirectly to act like him. So basically, the environment, the peers, other people play a major role, my dear brothers and sisters, on shaping us and ultimately on determining whether we are functional members of the society or dysfunctional. It plays a major role. If you interview any robber or any rapist, that rapist did not become a rapist overnight. It happened over the course of many years of befriending corrupt friends, corrupt peers, who would take him to places that are not so clean, that instill in his brain wrong values. Over time, this becomes a rapist because of what he has been taught and what he has been exposed to. But take another person who has been going to mosque all his life. His parents go to the mosque all their life. Obviously, when he grows up, he will go to the mosque as well, or to the church. So this shows, my dear brothers and sisters, that the environment we live in, the surroundings play a major role on shaping our personality. That's why Islam insists on being selective with your friends, with your peers, with your associate. Not because Islam discriminates against other people, simply because Islam wants you to live in a very clean environment. Because your associate can impact you and your character indirectly, subconsciously, without you realize sometime. You see, your children, they go to school. Day one, they go to kindergarten, first grade, and then they come back. They are learning new word, the F word, other words, and you're shocked. Where did this child learn this from? All those years this child was at my house, he never learned those words. Where did he learn them? From school, from peers. That's how they learn. Once they are exposed to the bigger environment, once they are not shielded as they were before when they were home, they are exposed to all social ills, including processing evil. And evil becomes normal to them. And when I say evil, evil is a spectrum. You have mild evil that begins with certain bad words, profanity, and that goes all the way up to crimes like rape, robbery, and murder. When they begin with the smallest scale and you do not stop them, no one attempts to stop them, eventually they will end up with a larger scale. That's how it starts. It starts small, and then it gets bigger and bigger. Because, again, as I said earlier, a rapist does not become a rapist overnight. It is an accumulation of a processing evil for years. For years. It started with one act here, one act there, one word here, one word there, and then that became normal, habitual. Then it ended up in committing bigger acts of crimes. So in order to basically bar your child from committing a big crime, you need to start with the small ones. Do not underestimate the impact of the words. You know, even scientifically now it's proven that your name has an impact on you. That's why in Islam encourages Muslims to name their children after nice names, beautiful names. Arabs before Islam, they used to pick ugly names for their children. And I tell you why. For example, they called they named the child, a newborn child, Veeb. You know what Veeb is? What is Veeb? Nobody knows? Huh? Wolf. Imagine you find a guy randomly, you ask him, what is your name? He tells you, my name is Wolf. Or Tha'laba, fox. Or in some countries, I'm not joking, and I'm not going to say what society out of respect for those societies. The name is Bala, trash. I've seen individuals who are named as Bala. So why they named their children? They believed in hasad. And because they believed in hasad and ayn and jealousy and a black, eye, they named their children with a bad name so no one can hit them with hasad. If my child is beautiful and he has a beautiful name, most likely someone will hit him with a black eye. So in order to, this is, of course, these are myth. These are myth. So based on their ignorant understanding of hasad and things like that, they would pick an ugly name for their child. Islam says no. Use a nice name. Ahlul Bayt, Muhammad, Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Abdullah, Abdul Aziz. Khayrul Asma' ma ubbida wa hummid, the Prophet says. So even the name you pick for your child has an impact. Has an impact. I even go furthermore. When a child is born in Islam, we are taught to recite adhan in one ear, iqama in the other ear. Some people think that this is nonsensical. A child, one day, old baby, you recite in his ears, what does he know? Well, no. There is an area now, scientists speak about this subconscious area in your brain that stores information. And then as you're growing up, those informations will surface and they come to you. So whatever is instilled in your brain will remain there forever. Subhanallah. Now they say everything you print, you touch on the screen, it doesn't go away. It is there forever, somewhere, iCloud or wherever. You know, that's the human brain. Whatever you put in the brain, you are wrong if you think it is erased. It is stored in the area that is called subconscious. And it comes later to haunt this child in the form of dreams or even certain complexes that they suffer. I don't want to go there because that's a very complicated subject. But my point is, small words matter. That's why Islam says at home, when you speak to your wife or to your husband, when you speak to your spouse, and there is a child listening, make sure not to use any profanity before that child, because his brain is like a recorder. It may not show now, but in 10 years, all of a sudden you see him using the same exact profanity his father did. There are hadith when a couple in their private room and they are being intimate, they need to make sure no child is hearing their intimacy. Make sure your children are put to sleep, or at least they are far enough away that they don't hear any act of intimacy, because that affects them once they are older. So Islam is very particular about not only your acts and actions, even your words, because those words can have a damaging and everlasting impact on the child. It may not show now, but in 30 years from now, 40 years from now. You need to keep their brain clean and not polluted with those words that may be translated one day into actions. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to support you all, to guide us all to the right path. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your deed. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you all along with your family members, your children, your grandchildren. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your dua. And I ask you all to recite Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha on the departed soul of all those who left us and departed us before Al-Fatiha. We'll leave 5-10 minutes for questions and answers. If anyone has a question, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will step down. Any question? Naam Haj. Yes. Yes. The internal levers that keep us away from committing is the following. Morality, ضمير, consciousness, أفكار الخير والشر, your positive thoughts. Your positive thoughts. For example, when you go and listen to a preacher, and the preacher is promoting charity, the idea of charity itself, the promotion of charity would encourage people to do good and to stay away from doing, crimes. Those are considered the religion. Religious teachings are part of our social levers that inhibit us from committing crimes, because all religions agree on certain values. For example, promoting charity, helping the poor, caring for the orphans, all religions. So those ideas and promotion of those ideas are considered part of those social levers. Okay, thank you so much, my dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.